Hello, English 241 students. Welcome to Module 8, the final module of the semester. Can you believe it? So, Module 8 opens today, Monday, the 2nd of March, and it closes on Friday, the 6th of March at 11:59. This is different this week. Make sure that you're reminded of that you don't have until Sunday to do that activity or all the activities. Make sure you get them done before Friday at 11:59 p.m. This week, the readings are from Volume D, John Milton, the bio, and then you're going to read a couple of poems from John Milton on Shakespeare, How Soon Hath Time, and also When I Consider How My Light Is Spent, the last of those three poems. After that, you'll review all the AMRs, the additional module resources for this week. There's only three of them, four, and they're really short. And then you'll start your writing and coursework for this module. The module 8 writing and coursework includes submitting your final multimodal project. I want you to make sure you double check that your video link works because I will not be able to accept these things late. Confirm that all required components are included there. Then you've got your discussion board where you post one original response focused on the Milton readings, and you reply to at least two classmates with maximum effort. The post and deadlines for that discussion board are relaxed this week, but all the posts must be completed by Friday, the 6th of March at 11:59 p.m. You've got your final written journal post. This time it's not a video journal, it's a written journal. So you'll reflect on the course and then you'll wrap up the work on the semester by completing that assignment. In that assignment, you'll reflect on your learning, your growth, and the experience that you had in English 241. Remember, this is the last module of the semester and that grading is ongoing, so you're still getting feedback on your assignments as the week goes. Reach out to me early if you have any questions or you're having any technical issues. I want you to take a moment to reflect on how far you've come and then remember to finish strong. For Module 8, at this point, the goal is not to rush through the last readings, but to actually slow down and reflect on them. That's exactly what John Milton is asking his readers to do in the poetry that we're reading for this module. Milton's poetry is deeply concerned with things like time, responsibility, and what it means to live a meaningful life, which makes him a fitting author to close out British Literature 1 for us. Milton lived during one of the most chaotic periods in English history: civil war, political revolution, and religious conflict, and also the execution of a king all occurred during his lifetime. Unlike many writers who tried to stay neutral, Milton was actively involved. He wrote political arguments, he defended controversial positions, and he believed strongly that learning and writing carried moral responsibility with it. For Milton, talent was never just personal, it came with obligation. That belief shapes everything that you read in this module. Let's start with On Shakespeare. This poem is Milton looking backwards. He praises Shakespeare not for his wealth or his title or for the monuments, but for the language itself. Shakespeare does not need a physical memorial because his words have already preserved him. The poem matters here because it raises a big question. What actually lasts? Milton suggests that power fades and buildings crumble and fame even disappears, but language and ideas can survive across all of time. As you're finishing the course, this poem mirrors your position. You're being asked to think about what stays with you after the semester is over. Next is How Soon Hath Time, a poem that Milton wrote when he was still young. It's basically about feeling behind in life. The speaker's worried that time is passing too quickly and that he has not yet done enough with his abilities. This anxiety feels surprisingly modern to readers. Many students recognize that pressure to achieve, to be productive, and to feel like time is being used well. You feel that pressure as well. What makes this poem especially important is how Milton frames the anxiety. He connects time to purpose and to responsibility. Talent's not about personal success alone. It is something that must be used wisely and patiently. The poem does not fully resolve that tension. Instead, it ends with trust that fulfillment may come later than expected. Milton acknowledges the urgency, but he also urges for patience. That balance becomes central to his later work. The most powerful poem in this module, I believe, is When I Consider How My Light Is Spent. By the time Milton wrote this poem, he was completely blind. For someone who believed deeply in reading and writing and learning, blindness was devastating. The poem confronts that loss directly. The speaker questions whether he can still serve a meaningful purpose without the ability to work in the way that he once could. This poem introduces a major shift in how Milton defines value. Service, he suggests, does not always mean visible action. Sometimes endurance itself matters. Waiting, trusting, and accepting limitation can still be meaningful. The poem ends with one of Milton's most famous lines. They also serve who only stand and wait. That line redefines productivity and success. Worth is not measured only by your output. It can also be measured by faithfulness and by patience. Across these poems, Milton keeps returning to the same core questions. What does it mean to use time wisely? What does responsibility look like when circumstances change? And how do we define success when outcomes are uncertain? These questions connect directly to the end of the course. Like Milton, you're being asked to reflect rather than prove something new. The final week is not about mastering another technique. It's about recognizing your growth, your effort, and your perspective. Milton reminds us that meaning is not always obvious in the moment. Sometimes it only becomes clear when we look back on it. Milton also helps bring together ideas you have seen all semester. Earlier writers worried about reputation, heroism, love, and authority. Milton shifts the focus inward. Instead of asking how one appears to others, he asks how one answers to time, how we answer to our conscience and our responsibilities. This inward turn completes the arc of British Literature 1. As you finish the readings and complete your final work, read Milton with your own experiences in mind. Think about how your relationship to reading and to writing and to difficulty has changed. Think about moments where patience mattered more than speed. Think about what you will carry forward from this course. Module 8 is not just an ending, it's a pause. Milton's poetry reminds us that reflection is not wasted time, it is how meaning takes shape. With that thought, I think that's going to be it for my lecturing this semester. If you've got any questions about any of the assignments that are due this week, please post them. Remember that the semester ends on Friday this week and not on Sunday. Thank you much for your time.